Okay. Hi, class. So the assignment that we were going to do together today was going to be on page 2 in your functions packet. So what I want you to do is watch this video and write down the notes that I'm writing on the video on page 2 in your packet. Okay, so here we go. So we were talking about functions. We've been doing work on how to figure out if a relation is a function or if it's not. So in this example, we're going to be creating, picking apart some functions that were given. Okay, so right here, this was the example of a set of points for functions, and we talked at the very bottom of those notes, it says what the domain and the range is. The domain are the x's of a function, and the range is the y's of a function. So one of the things you got to remember is which number is the x and which number is the y. So the x's are the first numbers. Okay, so -3, -2, 1, 3, and -3. So when we're listing the domain, we do that squiggle brace and we list the x numbers. If possible, it is nice to do them in order. I don't think too much will happen if you don't, but just if it's multiple choice, you need to know they'll be in order. So -3 is my first one. You separate the number with commas. -2 is my second one. And then I have 1. And then I have a 3. And you'll notice right here, this is another -3. You do not write the repeats. Okay, so this is important to write down. Okay, so if a number shows up twice, you don't write it down. So that means we're done, and we do the squiggle on the other side. Do the squiggle the best you can. Okay, so that was the domain. The range are all the y's. So the y's are 1, 0, 2, -4, and 5. So again, it's nice to kind of do it in order. The x's were pretty much in order. The y's are not quite. So I have one negative number. That's my lowest, so I'm going to start with that. Let's see, then I have 0. Sorry, you actually cross them off as you go. -4, 0. Then I have 1. Then I have 2. And then I have 5. And I just did the domain and range for my set of ordered pairs. Alright, so I need these numbers, so I'm going to kind of get rid of my marks for just a second so we can do the rest. Okay, again, my x's are the red numbers and my y's are the green numbers. Okay, so that was the domain and range when we're given the ordered pairs. These number in commas are the ordered pairs. Moving on, let's move on to our ovals. This right here is a mapping diagram. When you have to create a mapping diagram, sorry guys. Okay, you start with the x's again, and you can kind of use this domain and range, it helps us out, and you want to list your numbers. -3, -2, 1, and 3. So that's my domain. And then the range, that's why it kind of helps if you list them in order. And then you do a mapping diagram. It just is easier. Now, the mapping diagram, if you remember seeing them, that's the one that has the arrows. So when you create your mapping diagram, you have to do the arrows yourself. So we use these points to know. So -3 goes to 1. So I start at -3, and I draw an arrow to 1. -2 goes to 0. 1 goes to 2. 3 goes to -4. And then we have, here's that second -3. -3 goes to 5. So you go back up to -3, and that one gets another arrow, which if you recall correctly, that tells you something about whether or not it's a function. Okay, but right now, we're just getting everything created. Okay, moving on to the table. Okay, so when we are doing the table, you kind of want to use your points. So this is, each one of these points, or ordered pairs, is one row of the table. So the first ordered pair is -3, 1. My second ordered pair is -2, 0. My third ordered pair is 1, 2. So you see I'm just copying down the points across with the X across from the Y. So we are just using those ordered pairs to create our own table. And the last thing you can do with ordered pairs is you can graph them. So hopefully this is a nice little quick review. Remember that our x-axis is our side to side. Our y-axis is up and down. My positive x's are here. My negative x's are here. My positive y's are here. My negative y's are here. So my x is my side to side number. My y is my up and down number. So this -3 means I go to the left 3 and up 1. When we're plotting points, we start here at our origin. We go 1, 2, 3 left, up 1. I just graph this point. This is -2, 0, which means I go left -2 and up or down nothing. So I go left -1, 2, and I go up or down nothing. So I stay right there. So you need to graph these points on your paper. That point is graphed. This is over 1. Now we're going in the positive direction, and we're still going up because my y's are positive. So this is over 1 and up 2. And I make a point. That's done. This is to the right 3 and up 4. So 1, 2, 3, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4. And then -3, 5. So again, this is a negative, so I'm going to the left. -1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is up here. So I have 5 points graphed. From here, you can then use the information that we've been practicing to talk about whether or not they are a function. So a quick review. All right. So when we're looking at ordered pairs, we look at the x's, and we look to see if there's a repeat. -3, -2, 1, 3. So because we have a repeat, we know that it is not a function. All right, so for this one right here, that is the reason we know that this one is not a function. Okay, mapping diagram right here. We have 2 arrows coming out of the -3. It is not a function. On the table is the same as the points. We look down the x, and we have 2 -3s. That makes it not a function. And for graphing, we want to look at that vertical line test. Okay, so if I have a vertical line going down, okay, so then what you do is you take the vertical line, you move it through the function. Now in this particular function, there's no lines, there's just points. So you keep moving it up right there. Once you have one time, all you need is one time where the graph hits the vertical line 2 or more times, that fails it, and it makes it not a function. Okay, so that's the top part of page 2. Moving on. So for this section right here, no, it is not, Because it says explain, we got to do because it fails. Now we did it in many different occasions, so we can just say it fails all the function tests. The x's repeat. So that's kind of a generic one. If they were talking about anything specific, you might want to be more specific, but for right now, just generally speaking, it fails all the different function tests that we learned on page 1. All right, example 2, we are just going to test each one of these. All right, vertical line test. So you need to draw a line through your, let's do it this way. I'll just keep it red. I think that's easier to see. Let me get rid of this. Okay, so we're going to take this vertical line. We're going to draw it through both of them. And we're going to talk about whether or not it is or is not a function. Okay, so the actual graph is not the grid, but the line that is drawn on the grid. So it's this, for example, A. Sorry, there we go. So you want to kind of look and see how many times the red line and the green line intersect. And if you see it, it only intersects this one time. 1 is good. So that means, yes, it is a function. This is a pass, okay? 1 is good. All right, so then we look here at the second one. And the second one's a little tricky because some places it does pass. If I put the vertical line right here, it only touches the one time, right where my cursor is. But if I move the vertical line to right here, then we're encountering a little bit of trouble. And you'll notice here it touches twice. That's all it needs. It can pass in some places, but if it fails in one or more places, then the overall answer is no. Okay? So please make sure that you've got the notes done. If you want, starting tomorrow, we're going to move on and we're going to start looking at these questions right here, guys. So look them over, try a couple would be really helpful, see what makes sense to you, see what doesn't, and then we will move on from there. So that's today's work. Good luck. Email me, comment on Google Classroom if you need any help, because I can communicate with you that way. All right, good luck, guys. See you tomorrow.